students, let's continue with the chapter rat trap. Now we are going to begin with the fourth page. It goes like this. It was late in December. Darkness was already descending over the forest. This increased the danger and increased also his gloom and despair. Finally, he saw no way out and he sank down on the ground, tired to death, thinking that his last moment had come. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a hard, regular thumping. This was no doubt as to what that was. He raised himself. Those are the hammer strokes from the iron mill, he thought. There must be people nearby. He summoned all his strength, got back, got up, and staggered in the direction of the sound. So first of all, we'll see to the hard words. The word gloom in the second line means dark. Despair means hopelessness. Thumping means in the fourth line, thumping means the sound of some heavy beating. Summoned means gathered, and stagger means to walk with difficulty. So now we'll begin with the explanation. In this paragraph, the narrator says that as it was the month of December, it got dark early. As it got dark, his hope of escaping the forest reduced, the danger to his life increased, and so did his feeling of being hopeless. There was no way left for him, so he sat on the ground and was so tired and terrible that he thought this was his last moment and he soon would die. As he laid his head on the ground, he heard a very strong, regular sound. It was a hard sound that was coming at the regular intervals. He soon realized that these sounds were the sounds of hammer strokes from the iron mill. He thought that he could find some people nearby. With this thought, he gathered some strength and started walking with great difficulty towards the direction of the sound. So now let's move on to the next paragraph. The next paragraph says the Ramso iron works, which are now closed down, not so long ago, a large plant with smelter, rolling mill, and forge. In the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges and scows slid down the canal, which led to a large inland lake, and in the winter time, the roads near the mill were black from all the coal dust which sifted down from the big charcoal crates. Now, we'll see to the hard words first. Forge means a shop where metal is heated. Barge, a long flat bottomed boat for carrying freight on canals and rivers. Scow, a flat bottomed boat used for transporting cargo to and from ships in harbor. Sifted means descended lightly or sparsely as if sprinkled from a sieve. Smelter, it is a machine in which metal is melted to form into a shape. And rolling mill is a machine to roll metal into sheets. So now I explain you the paragraph, what the paragraph says. The paragraph says that the Ramso Iron Works was a large plant which had shut down few years ago. It had smelter, rolling mill, and a forge. In summers, long, flat-bottomed boats carrying the material would come down the canal, which led to a large inland lake for supplying materials to the mill, and in winters, the roads turned black because of the coal dust that came along due to the transportation of the charcoal crates. Now, the next paragraph. During one of the long dark evenings just before Christmas, the master smith and his helper sat in the dark forge near the furnace waiting for the crude iron which had been put in the fire to be ready to put on the anvil. Now, anvil is a heavy iron block with a flat top and concave sides. Then further, every now and then one of them got up to stir the glowing mass with a long iron bar, returning in a few moments, dripping with perspiration. Perspiration is sweat. Though, as was the custom, he wore nothing but a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. So, in this paragraph, the narrator says that on one long dark evening near Christmas time, the master, Smith, and his helper were sitting in the dark forge which was built near the furnace. He was wearing a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. Both of them were waiting for the pig iron which was put inside the furnace fire to be ready to put onto the anvil. And I told you anvil is a heavy block with flat top which is used to shape the metals. And they took turns to stir the liquid, means one by one they were stirring the liquid which was very hot. As they would as they could bear the heat for a few minutes, each of them would return sweating profusely. Then the next paragraph says, all the time there were many sounds to be heard in the forge. The big bellows groaned, and the burning coal cracked. The fire boy shoveled charcoal into the maw of the furnace with a great deal of clatter. Outside roared the waterfall, and a sharp north wind whipped the rain against the brick tiled roof. So in these the first let us see the hard words. Bellows here means air bag that emits a stream of air used for blowing air into a fire. Shoveled means move and mow means jaws. Clatter means bang. That is a sound. Clatter is a sound. Whipped means beaten with a whip. Here to and here in this paragraph it means to hit something. So now this paragraph says that one could hear different types of sound in the forge. There was a big fellow who was blowing air in the fire with great sound. Also there was the sound of cracking coal. One could also hear the bang of the charcoal which was being shoveled by the fire boy. The sounds which were coming from outside the mill, these were of waterfall. The high-speed north wind which hit the raindrops against the brick-tiled roof. The next paragraph says, it was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and entered the forge until he stood close up to the furnace. So, in these lines, the narrator says that it was due to these different types of sounds that the blacksmith didn't realize that a man had opened the gate of the forge and had entered. So, this vagabond, he had entered the forge, and the two men were so much engrossed in the work that they did not hear the sound of the opening of the door or the gate. And till this vagabond, he came and stood near the furnace. Further, in the last paragraph of this page, the narrator says, surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the sooty panes. Sooty panes are the window panes which is covered in soot. That is, it is dirty. It has turned black. Then further, and to come in to warm themselves in front of the fire. The blacksmiths glanced only casually and indifferently at the intruder. Intruder is the vagabond. He looked the way people of his type usually did, with a long beard, dirty, ragged, and with a bunch of rat traps dangling on his chest. So here, now in this paragraph, the narrator says that many homeless people used to get attracted to the lights of the forge, which peeked or which came out through the window panes which were covered with a black powder of burnt coal. They would seek shelter there. They would warm themselves with the help of the burning fire. As the blacksmiths were accustomed to visitors, they were indifferent to the man. They just looked at him, and the rat trap seller's appearance was similar to that of other wanderers or vagabonds. He had a long beard, it was dirty, and he wore old, worn out clothes, and he had a bunch of rat traps hanging from his chest. Further, in the next paragraph, the narrator says that he asked permission to stay, and the master blacksmith nodded haughty, a haughty consent without honoring him with a single word. Here in this line, the haughty words means arrogant. So, the narrator in these lines says that the peddler tried to seek permission from the blacksmith so that he could stay in the forge for a night. He allowed the peddler with an arrogant consent by just nodding and didn't say a single word to him. And further, in the next paragraph, the tramp did not say anything either. He had not come there to talk, but only to warm himself and sleep. In those days, the Ramsdo iron mill was owned by a very prominent iron master whose greatest ambition was to ship out good iron into the market. He watched both night and day to see that the work was done as well as possible, and at this very moment he came into the forge on one of his nightly rounds of inspection. So, first, see to the hard words here. Prominent means important, tramp means it refers to the vagabond, the rat trap seller. So, in this paragraph, the narrator says that the peddler also said nothing because his main aim was to warm himself and sleep. The owner of the Ramso iron mill in those days was a very ambitious person whose aim was to sell only the finest iron into the market. Therefore, he used to keep a check on the workers both night during night and day, and the owner was on a night inspection visit when the peddler entered the forge. Then further, next paragraph says, naturally, the first thing he saw was the tall ragamuffin. Ragamuffin is a person in rags. That is, it refers to the vagabond or the rat trap seller who had eased his way too close to the furnace that steam rose from his wet rags. The ironmaster did not follow the example of the blacksmiths, who had hardly deigned to look at the stranger. Here, deign means to do something that one considers to be beneath one's dignity. Deigned to look at the stranger. He walked close up to him, looked him over very carefully, and then tore off his slouch hat. Hat means the hat that bent on one side of the head. Slouch hat to get a better view of his face. So in this paragraph, the narrator says that unlike the blacksmith, the iron master at once noticed the peddler who was sitting so close to the furnace that the steam was coming out of his torn clothes as the clothes were wet. He not only went near him, but he also removed the wanderer's hat that was bent to one side so that he could see the man's face clearly. Then further in the next paragraph, the narrator says, but of course it is you, Neil Olof. He said, how you do look. The man with the rat traps had never before seen the iron master of Ramzo and did not even know what his name was. But it occurred to him that if the fine gentleman thought he was an old acquaintance means he was an old associate, that means he knew him earlier. He might perhaps throw him a couple of kroner. Therefore, he did not want to undeceive him at all at once. To undeceive means to tell someone that his belief is mistaken. So, in this paragraph, the narrator says that when the iron master took off the peddler's hat, he mistook him as an old acquaintance, Neil Olof. That means he knew a person long time back when he was in the army, a person with the name Neil Olof, and because it was dark, so he could not see his face clearly, but he assumed that he was his old acquaintance with the name as Neil Olof. The peddler didn't know him, nor had he seen this man before, but he thought that this man mistook him as his old companion and gave him some money out of pity. Then it would be a good thing. Therefore, he didn't let him know that he had mistaken him as Neil Olof. So, Wanderer, he also thought that this man would give him some money, so he kept quiet and he did not want to undeceive him at all. Then further he says, yes, God knows things have gone downhill with me. He said, you should not have resigned from the regiment, said the ironmaster. That was the mistake. If only I had still been in the service at the time, it never would have happened. Well, now of course you will come home with me. So here downhill means worst. Regiment is the unit in the army or defense forces. So in this paragraph, the narrator says that so the peddler started a conversation with the iron master by saying that things did not went well with him. To this, the iron master replied that he had made a big mistake by leaving the regiment, by leaving the army, the job of the army. He also added that if he would have been working in the regiment when he resigned, he wouldn't have let him to do so. Later on, he invited him to his home. Now he asked this person, this wanderer, thinking him to be Neil Olof, and invited him. He asked him to come with him to his home. Then further in the next paragraph, the narrator says to go along up to the manor house. Manor house is a large country house, and be received by the owner like an old regimental comrade. That, however, did not please the tramp. Tramp is the wanderer here. No, I couldn't think of it, he said, looking quite alarmed. He thought of the 30 kroner. To go up to the manor house would be like throwing himself voluntarily into the lion's den. He only wanted a chance to sleep here in the forge and then sneak away as inconspicuously as possible. Here, comrade means in this paragraph, the word comrade means a fellow soldier. Alarmed means frightened. Inconspicuously means invisible or which is not noticeable. So in this paragraph, the narrator says that the rat trap seller didn't find it to be good idea to visit the iron master's place, as he was frightened with the idea of visiting to the large house of an old soldier, which according to him was not safe. After all, he had stolen the money with him. He was having the 30 kroner of that man. He didn't want to put himself in danger. His intention were to sleep in the forge and then go away from there without even being noticed. So he was scared of going to the iron master's house. Then further in the next paragraph, the narrator says the iron master assumed that he felt embarrassed because of his miserable clothing. Please don't think that I have such a fine home that you cannot show yourself there, he said. Elizabeth is dead, as you may already have heard. Elizabeth is his wife. My boys are abroad, and there is no one at home except my oldest daughter and myself. We were just saying that it was too bad we didn't have any company for Christmas. Now come along with me and help us make the Christmas food disappear a little faster. So now the conversation is going on between the iron master and the vagabond, thinking him to be Neil Olof. He just explained him everything, that all the members of the family, how many members were there in his family. He was in the house. Both he and his eldest daughter lived, and both his sons had gone abroad. They were not there in the house, and they were waiting for, and they just wanted some company for Christmas. As the Christmas was approaching, so he wanted this man, this vagabond, to accompany him, thinking him to be Neil Along. So in this paragraph, the narrator says that the ironmaster was aware of his friend's miserable condition. So he tried to make him comfortable by saying that he should feel free to come his home, as his home was an ordinary one. He told him that his wife was no more, and added that he must be aware of this. Then he let him know that both his sons were settled abroad. Only he and his daughter were left at home. He invited him to celebrate Christmas with his family, so that he and his daughter may have some good company at the Christmas feast. Then further, in the next paragraph, the narrator says, but the stranger said no, and again no. And the ironmaster saw that he must give in. He looks as though Captain Wonsdale preferred to stay with you tonight, just from, he said to the master blacksmith, and turned on his heel. So now in this paragraph, the narrator says that though the ironmaster made many attempts to invite him, the peddler didn't accept his invitation. So at last, he says to the blacksmith, Gemstrom, that it seemed that Captain Wonsdale, that is, he is referring to the peddler, wanted to stay with him in the forge. Though he forced him to come with him, but the vagabond or the peddler, he refused. Then further in the next paragraph he says, but he laughed to himself as he went away, and the blacksmith, who knew him, understood very well that he had not said his last word. So this means that the narrator in this line say that then he laughed and went away. The ironmaster, he laughed and went away, but the blacksmith, he knew that he was hiding something. Then further in the next paragraph, the narrator says it was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge, and a new guest came in. But this time it was not the ironmaster. He had sent his daughter, apparently hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion. Persuasion means convincing the peddler to come with him than he himself. So in this paragraph, the narrator says that after a gap of half an hour, the ironmaster sent his daughter, thinking that she was having the better persuasion power than him, and he hoped that his daughter may bring his friend home, and as he believed that she was good in persuading others. Then further in the next paragraph, the narrator says that she entered followed by a valet. Valet is the personal attendant, that is a servant, carrying on his arm a big fur coat. She was not at all pretty, but seemed modest and quite shy. Modest means humble. In the forge, everything was just as it had been earlier in the evening. The master blacksmith and his apprentice still sat on their bench. Apprentice is the learner or the helper, you can say that. And on their bench, and iron and charcoal still glowed in the furnace. The stranger had stretched himself out on the floor and lay with a piece of pig iron under his head and his hat pulled down over his eyes. As soon as the young girl caught sight of him, he went up and lifted his hat. The man was evidently used to sleeping with one eye open. He jumped up abruptly and seemed to be quite frightened. So, in this paragraph, the narrator says that the ironmaster's daughter entered the mill with her attendant, who was carrying a big fur coat. She was a humble girl who was very shy, though she was not so beautiful, but she looked like a humble girl, and she was very shy. When she entered, everyone was busy the same way as they had been earlier. The blacksmith was still sitting on the bench with his trainees and was working on the iron. She went up to the peddler and lifted his hat. The peddler slept with one eye open, and as soon as he saw her, he got shocked and jumped up.